Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are doing good, children. So, I welcome you back to our virtual learning session where today we will study more about our geography chapter number 2, physical features of India. So, this slide concludes our chapter's name, Physical Features of India, in which we studied the varied forms of landforms that is found in our country, and we studied it in a more detailed manner, children. So let us go ahead to see what we had earlier studied. So our chapter began with the physical features of our country, that is India, where we studied about the major physical features that we can see as hills, mountains, ranges, plateaus, plains, rivers, etc. Because this things contribute to the physical features of our country. Physical features where you can see and touch. Clear? Now, how were they formed? How was the formation of the mountain? Not every mountain is same, right? We have folded mountains, we have block mountains. So every mountain has different kinds of theories designed behind its extinction. So how they were formed, how the valleys were formed, how the plains were formed, this all we studied in our earlier lectures. So with the emergence of the theory of plate tectonics, we did understand how the three types of plate boundaries existed at that point of time and even today as well. We studied about three types of plate boundaries: convergent boundaries. We studied about divergent boundaries. Yes. Now, this plate tectonics theory more emphasized on how the plates movements gave the physical change upon the earth's crust, children. Clear? Beneath the earth, we have a layer called the lithosphere where mantle has been found. In there, we have different kinds of plate tectonics. We have 7 major plates and 7 minor plates. Now, when the positive plate comes with the positive plate, the earthquake occurs. Okay, so what happens over here is this plate tectonics was being studied in a more detailed manner by our earth scientists. Clear? Now, due to the activity of the plate tectonics that is happening beneath the earth, that is in the lithosphere section, because of that activity, there is emergence of varied physical features upon the earth. So only because of plate tectonics, Gondwana land was separated to East Gondwana and West Gondwana. We all knew that Gondwana land was one big land. Clear? Now, what happened? How Gondwana land got separated? It was due to the tectonic activity that was taking place beneath the earth. Now, when the Indian plate was much smaller, right? When the plate, when they bumped to each other, India and Australian plate, they got drifted away. They got drifted away and it was known as East Gondwana and were taken away from the West Gondwana part. When this part was being carried, okay, Indo-Australian plate, when it was drifted away with the West Gondwana land, when it was moving, it did get bumped into the more and much bigger plate, that is the Eurasian plate, children. When these two plates, when they bumped each other, convergent boundary was formed, and due to that particular action, Himalayas emergence was formed. Clear? We did study how did Himalayas emerge. So due to the activities of the plate tectonics, even today Himalaya as mountain, it grows 1 inch per year. Going with the physiographic divisions, we first studied about the Himalayas. We studied about the upper Himalayas or the greater Himalayas. Then we studied about the lesser Himalayas children. Then we studied about the outer part of the Himalayas, that is the Shivalik ranges. Then we studied about the northern plains as well, only due to the emergence of Himalayas and due to its perennial rivers, northern plains were formed on the foothills of the Himalayas. Yes, and northern plains, the soil is very fertile and it is, very useful for agriculture, and it is perennial. The rivers on the Himalayas are perennial, 365 days. So this all sections we did learn in our earlier lessons. Today we are going to cover the other 4 major physiographic divisions. Let us go ahead. Here we are going to study about northern and the northeastern mountains, the Himalayas, right? See, the northern and the northeastern, this part is east. We did study about this in our earlier lecture. Then we studied about the northern plains. I told you because of the Himalayas, the northern plains were formed. Yes, because of the perennial rivers. The rivers are 365 days perennial, and due to that activity, northern plains were formed. Now, we see the Thar Desert over here. This is the Great Indian Desert. We will study about this in the Peninsular Plateau section. Then comes our Peninsular Plateau. Can you see this, right? This section is our Peninsular Plateau, and plateaus are table-topped structure. They are flat in structure, children. Clear? Because they are not higher as mountains. Their peak is not, sharp. They are above structure is flat. That is the reason they are called as flat stable structure, the plateaus. Fifth comes the coastal plains. You can see this area. Why it is coastal plains? Because it is the edge of the coast. Yes, you can see over here. Then comes our islands, the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands. So this is all we are going to study in our lecture now, where we have completed studying the north and northeastern mountains, that is Himalayas. We have finished studying the northern plains. We are now going to study about the Thar Desert and the Peninsula Plateau, the coastal plains, deserts and islands. So let us go ahead. So starting with the Peninsular Plateau, children. The Peninsular Plateau is a table land. I told you the structure, right? It is a table land consisting, it is having of old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. So you can see the composition of old crystalline, igneous and the metamorphic rocks. So it is a combination of all 3 substances. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting. Breaking, I told you about the Gondwana land, right? That braked and it drifted, it came away. So this particular peninsular plateau, okay, this full region is Peninsular Plateau, children. Clear? You can see over here. This is the Peninsular Plateau, which you can see where I am marking. This full region is Peninsular Plateau. Now, this was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land, and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. Oldest landmass? Landmass is the thing that had been carried the solid structure that had been carried away from the Gondwana land. Now, the plateau has broad and shallow valleys. Broad is big, like width. Shallow is deep. Broad and shallow valleys along with rounded hills. This plateau consists of two broad divisions, namely Central Highlands. You can see this here. In Peninsular Plateau, the upper portion is known as the Central Highlands and the below portion is known as the Deccan Plateau. Yes, you can see here very well. The entire thing is the plateau, the Peninsular Plateau, and their divisions is known as the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. Now you can see a gap over here, children, right? This particular gap is a rift. This is a rift caused by river Narmada. Here the rift valley has been formed due to Narmada river. Clear? So let us slide ahead. I hope you have understood the Peninsular Plateau. Let us slide ahead. So coming to the first part of the Peninsular Plateau, that is the Central Highlands, children. The part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River. We all know that there is a rift formed. You can see this particular part, right? There is a rift that has been formed between the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau due to Narmada River. So, the part of the Peninsular Plateau, is this thing. This is this is the tabletop land, okay? You can see this. It is almost triangular in shape. And see, this is the Deccan Plateau. Yes, clear, children? So you can see the rift that has been created. Now, the part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River. You can see Narmada River over here. You can see over here, right? This is River Narmada. And Narmada's north will be over here. Yes, Narmada's south will be over here. So, the part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to the north, upper portion of the Narmada River, covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau. You can see the Malwa Plateau over here, covering the major region of the Malwa Plateau, is known as the Central Highlands. So this portion, the upper portion, is the Central Highlands. Correct? Second, the Vindhyan Range. The Vindhyan Range is just above Narmada, children, over here. Between Narmada and the Malwa Plateau. Here you can find the Vindhya Range. The Vindhya Range is bounded by the Satpura Range on the south. Now, for this Vindhya Range, the upper portion is the north, right? And the below portion will be south, correct? So, south is Satpura. You can see over here. Satpura ranges comes under Central Highlands. Now, the Vindhyan Range, this particular range, is been bounded, that is surrounded by the Satpura Range in the south and Aravallis on the northwest. You can see the Aravalli Range. Why it is northwest? Because it is coming under north and it comes under west. That's why it is called as northwest. And Aravalli is in the northwest. So this Vindhyan Range, it has been bounded by the Satpura Ranges, covered by the Satpura Ranges in the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. The further westward extension gradually, this is the further westward extension. You can see over here. Yes, gradually merges with the sandy and the rocky desert of Rajasthan, that is the Thar Desert, which is known as the Great Indian Desert as well. Clear? I hope you have understood this section of Central Highlands, where we have studied the part of the peninsular plateau that is above the Narmada River, that comes to the north of the Narmada River, that is known as the Central Highlands. Clear? Let us go ahead. The flow of rivers draining in this region is the Central Highland region in the Peninsular Plateau, children. The flow of the rivers draining in this region, namely the Chambal, you can see river Chambal over here. Yes, the Sindh, you can see Sindh river over here. The Betwa, you can see the Betwa river over here. You can see over here where it is flowing. And Ken, this is river Ken. Clear? So, the flow of the rivers draining in the Central Highland region, namely Chambal, Sindh, Betwa and Ken, is from southwest to northeast. Means they emerge from southwest and they come to northeast, thus indicating the slope. The Central Highlands are wider in the west. We are talking about the Central Highland, this particular part of the Peninsular Plateau, children. Yes, now these are wider in the west. So this is the west part. You can see this particular portion is wide, breadth is big. Yes, is wider in the west but narrower in the east. Narrow is deep. You can see it is narrow. This is not wide, but it is going narrow in the east. The eastward extensions of this plateau is known as Bundelkhand and Bhagelkhand. So this particular, the narrow portion, the eastward extension of this plateau, this particular extension, you can see, of this plateau is known as Bundelkhand. You can see in this map is known as the Bundelkhand and the Bhagelkhand. See over here. The Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension. You can see the further eastward extension, that is the Chota Nagpur Plateau. That marks the further eastward extension drained by river Damodar. You can see a river Damodar is been draining in this map. Yes, this is the river Damodar. This is the extreme east point where it is going down. Yes, this is river Damodar. You can see over here. Clear? So, the Central Highlands are wider in the west. Clear? And the eastward extension of this plateau is known as Bundelkhand. So the Central Highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east, children. Narrow is the length in the east. The eastward extension, when this is extending, right? When the east portion is extending, that particular plateau is locally known as the Bundelkhand Plateau, and further comes the Bhagelkhand Plateau along with the Chota Nagpur Plateau, and that further it goes to the eastward extension drained by the river Damodar, which I told you over here. Clear, children? Let us slide ahead. So coming to our second position of the peninsular plateau is the Deccan Plateau. That is the second part. The Deccan Plateau is a triangular landmass We have studied in our previous slides that there is a rift that has been created by river Narmada. You can see river Narmada over here. There is a particular rift that has been created by the river, and that divides the peninsular plateau to the central highlands and the Deccan plateau. Clear? So you can see the triangular landmass leaving the coastal areas. If you see the edge where I am drawing, you can see that it is the triangular landmass. And this particular landmass lies to the south of river Narmada. The upper portion of Narmada is north, the below portion is south. So Deccan Plateau lies to the south of river Narmada. The Satpura range, you can see the Satpura range in the Deccan Plateau. Yes, over here. It flanks its broad base in the north. So for Satpura range, the upper portion, its upper portion is north. So it is extending its base in the north, while the Mahadev Hills, the Kaimur Hills and the Maikal Range. You can see the Maikal Range over here. Yes, this two covers in the Deccan Plateau. Clear? This particular range it extends towards the east. It goes towards the east. The Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently towards the east. An extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast. There is this area where you can see this is the extension of this area. This is northeast, this Meghalaya. Okay, you can see the Chota Nagpur Plateau over here. It is the extension of the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Okay. So an extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast. That is the north, upper position is north, but this portion is east. Seen in the northeast, locally known as the Meghalaya or Karbi Along Plateau, this particular area which I have marked, right? This is known as Karbi Along Plateau and North Kachar Hills. It is separated, which is separated this Karbi Along Plateau in Meghalaya. That particular plateau is separated by a fault. We have read about folding and faulting in the process, right children, in the earlier slides, from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. So it is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. So this particular area where you can see the Rajmahal Hills, right? It comes in Bihar. So there is a fault that has been created by the Chota Nagpur Plateau, and that is the reason why this particular Karbi Along Plateau, yes, this Karbi Along Plateau is away from the Deccan Plateau. Clear? So the prominent hill ranges from the west to the east are the Garo. You can see the Garo Hills over here. The Garo Hills over here. Yes, the Khasi that comes in the Karbi Along Plateau and Jaintia Hills. So this particular portion, if you see in your textbook map, you can find Garo, Khasi, Jaintia Hills. So I hope this particular concept has been clear to you. Let us slide ahead. So we have studied about the Peninsular Plateau, and in Peninsular Plateau we did study about the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau, and now we are going to study ahead about the Western and the Eastern Ghats. You can see the Eastern Ghats. The Western and the Eastern Ghats that comes under the Deccan Plateau. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats mark the western and eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau that we have seen in our earlier slides as well. I'll show it over here also. You can see the edge. They are marking the edge of the Deccan Plateau. Yes, you can see the Eastern Ghats. They are marking the edge. Western Ghats lie parallel to the western coast. Parallel is opposite. So Western Ghat lies parallel, that is opposite to the western coast. This is the coastal area, right? So this ghat is parallel to the western coast. They are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. The Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. You can see over here. The Western Ghats, you can see this particular line. The Western Ghat is higher. This is higher. You can see the height is higher than the Eastern Ghat. You can see the variation. Their average elevation height is 900 to 1600 meters as against 600 meters of the Eastern Ghats. So the Eastern Ghat, this part is 600 meter, but the Western Ghats are from 900 to 1600 meters. The Eastern Ghats stretch from Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in the south. You can see over here, this is the Eastern Ghat, right children? So they are extending from Mahanadi Valley, that you can see river Mahanadi, clear, to the Nilgiris in the south. You can see the Nilgiris hills over here, Nilgiris in the south. This is their extension. The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular. They are not continuous. They are discontinuous and irregular. The shape is not constant, irregular, and dissected by rivers. Dissected is divided by rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. There are many rivers that are being drained. Why the Eastern Ghats are discontinuous? Because of many rivers that has been draining into the Bay of Bengal. Clear children? Let us slide ahead. The Western Ghats cause orographic rain by phasing the rain-bearing moist winds to rise along the western slopes of the Ghats. So orographic rains we all have studied, where the wind has been obstructed because of the peak of the mountains, correct? So that causes the orographic rains due to the the air being blocked by the mountain, and because of the condensation of the air, the cloud goes ahead and it causes rain to one part, that is known as orographic rains. The Western Ghats are known by different local names. We have studied about the Eastern Ghats, we are talking about the Western Ghats, yes, and this is the Eastern Ghats. So the height of the Western Ghats progressively increases from north to south. So from north to south, it progressively increases. The highest peaks include Anaimudi, you can see over here, Anaimudi, that is 2695 meters, and Doda Beta, that is 2637 meters, and you can see Mahendragiri over here, right? And Mahendragiri, that is 1501 meters, is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats. This three are the highest peaks in the Eastern Ghats. Chevroy Hills and Jawari Hills are located to the southeast of the Eastern Ghats. So if this area is south, yes, this particular portion comes under east. So the Chevroy Hills and the Jawari Hills are located to the southeast. Okay, the southeast of the Eastern Ghats. I hope you are understanding, children. Let us slide ahead. One of the distinct features of the peninsular plateau is the black soil area known as the Deccan Trap. So we are talking about the Deccan plateaus over here. Clear? The Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats. It is known as the Deccan Trap. This is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for the formation of black soil. So because of the volcanic activity, as you can see over here, the black soil is emerged. The Aravalli Hills lie on the western and the northwestern margins of the peninsular plateau. As you can see over here, the Aravalli Hills lie on the western, yes, and the northwestern margins of the peninsular plateau, because we have learned Thar Desert is the extension of the Central Highlands. These are highly eroded hills and are found as broken hills. They extend from Gujarat to Delhi in a southwest and northeast direction. Let us slide ahead. Going ahead with the Indian desert. The Indian desert lies to the western margin of the Aravalli Hills. So the Thar Desert is known as the Indian desert and it lies to the western margin of the Aravalli Hills. You can see the Aravalli Hills over here. It lies towards the western margin. It is an undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes. Sand dunes is the collection of sand in one particular place. The air that is blowing, it is carrying much amount of sand with it, and where it is depositing this sand and the formation of particular dune is known as the sand dune. This region receives very low rainfall below 150 mm per year. It has arid climate with low vegetation cover because of the desert being the reason. Streams appear during the rainy season. Soon after, they disappear into the sand as they do not have enough water to reach the sea because of less rainfall. Luni is only the large river in this region. So there are no distributaries, there are no tributaries. There is only one large river, that is the Luni River. Barchans, they are the crescent shaped dunes. Okay, their shape is like the crescent form. These barchans cover large areas, but longitudinal dunes become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. We all know Pakistan is over here. Yes, this because of the longitudinal dunes, the dunes become more prominent. The barchans become more prominent in the Indo-Pakistan borders. If you visit Jaisalmer, you may go to see a group of barchans. So if you ever visit Jaisalmer, do go and visit to see how barchans are formed, their shapes. Clear, children? Let us slide ahead. So going ahead with the coastal plains. Coastal plains is the area where you find over here, between the Western Ghats and between the Eastern Ghats. This is known as the coastal plains. The peninsular plateau is flanked by stretch of narrow coastal strips. This is the narrow coastal strips, children. It is narrow, it is deep, running along the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal in the east. The western coast sandwiched between the Western Ghats. This is the Western Ghats and Arabian Sea. Outer is the Arabian Sea and inner is the Western Ghat, and the western plains, western coastal plains lie in between these two. The western coast sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea is a narrow plain. It consists of 3 sections. So let us see which are the 3 sections. So we can see the first section, the northern part of the coast. So the northern part of the coast is the Konkan. You can see over here the Konkan that comes in Mumbai. Then comes the central stretch. This particular central stretch is known as the Kannada plain that comes in between, and then comes the southern stretch referred to as the Malabar coast. You can see over here that comes under southern part. The plains along Bay of Bengal, they are talking about the Eastern Ghats. The plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. They are not broken, they are in level. In northern part, it is referred to as the Northern Sirkar. You can see over here. It is referred to as the Northern Sirkar, while the southern part, the northern is the Northern Sirkar, while the southern part is known as the Coromandel coast. You can see very well in the Eastern Ghats. Large rivers such as Mahanadi, you can see river Mahanadi over here, like Mahanadi, you can see Godavari, you can see Krishna, you can see Kaveri, have formed the extensive delta on this coast. Lake Chilka is an important feature along the eastern coast. So I hope you understood, children, the formation of coastal plains along with their structures. Let us slide ahead. So coming to our last physiographic division, that is the islands. You have already seen that India has a vast mainland. Besides this, the country has 2 groups of islands. We all know. The Lakshadweep Islands group lies close to the Malabar coast. You can see the Lakshadweep Island lying close to the Malabar coast, that is in Kerala. This group of islands is composed of small coral islands. Why it is known as Coral Island? Because Lakshadweep Island is known as Coral Island because it is made up of coral, which are, what do you mean by coral? Which are skeletons of tiny marine animals called polyps. Clear? This is known as the Coral Island. This group of islands is composed of small coral islands. Earlier, they were known as Laccadive, Minicoy, and Amendive. In 1973, these were named as Lakshadweep. So earlier they were known as Laccadive, Minicoy, and Amendive because they were small islands. Okay, these were the 3 small islands, and in 1973 all the 3 were merged together and they were known as Lakshadweep Islands. It covers a small area of 32 square kilometer. Kavaratti Island is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. This island group has great diversity of flora and fauna. Many types of plants, many types of animals can be found on this island. The Piti Island, which is uninhabited, has a bird sanctuary. Clear? Let us slide ahead to know about the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal, the Bay of Bengal, extending from north to south are Andaman and Nicobar. From, you can see this is the north part of the Andaman Island and this is the south part. So from north to south is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are bigger in size and are more numerous and scattered. They are much in number and they are not together but they are scattered. Different places they are put up to. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories. The Andaman in the north, and the Nicobar Islands in the south. Why? Because they are not uniform islands, they are scattered. As they are scattered, Andaman goes to the north and Nicobar Islands comes to the south. It is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains. These island groups are of great strategic importance of the country. Strategic importance on the in the point of trade view. There is a great diversity of flora and fauna in this group of islands too. These islands lie close to the equator and experience equatorial climate and has thick forest cover. Let us slide ahead. So in this chapter, children, right from the starting, that is physical features of India, we studied about the different physical features, the features that form as the substance upon the earth, the mountains, hills, plateaus, plains. We studied in detail and we studied about the tectonic plates, how they function due to the conventional currents and they are working 24/7. The earth's activity does not take a break and due to that we even studied that Himalayan mountains, they grow up 1 inch per year. Then we came to the Gondwana land, where the Gondwana land was part of the major part of the Pangaea land, where because of the drifting, because of the bumping of the tectonic plates and because of the drifting, the Gondwana land got separated to the East Gondwana and the West Gondwana, where in the East Gondwana, India and Australia, okay, so Indo-Australian plate, it got apart because of the bumping of the tectonic plates. The Gondwana land was separated to East Gondwana and West Gondwana, right? So the East Gondwana, the part, it drifted away from the West Gondwana, and the East Gondwana consisted of Indo-Australian plates. When these plates moved away, they immensely went and collided with the much more bigger Eurasian plates, children. And when they collided, there was the formation of Himalayas, and that plate boundary was known as convergent plate boundary. From there, the existence of Himalayas started, and this was around many million years ago. So from that time, Himalayas got started to build up on its own way because of the volcanic activity, going beneath because of the tectonic plates. After that, because of the Himalayan mountains, northern plains were formed because of the perennial rivers emerging from the top of the Himalayan mountains. We studied about the northern plains as well, how it was formed and how it was useful for agriculture because it has alluvial type of soil in that, and that soil is very fertile, that is used for agriculture. Then we came to the peninsular plateau, where we studied about the central highlands. A ridge has been created by river Narmada in the peninsular plateau, and because of that, two parts have been formed. That is, the north to the Narmada is the central highlands, and south to the Narmadas is the Deccan plateau. We have studied that in more detailed manner. Then we came to our Indian deserts. Then we came to our um, islands. Then we studied about the coastal plains as well. So this particular chapter gave us the detailed account of the different physiographic units, highlights the unique features of each region. It would, however, be clear that each region complements the other. Each region complements the other. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats are complementary to each other and makes the country richer in its natural resources. The mountains are the major sources of water and forest wealth. The northern plains are the granaries of the country. Why granaries? Because of the alluvium found in the soil that is making fertile, and due to that, agriculture is, in a much emerging manner always. They provide the base for early civilizations when man settled on the banks of river Ganga. The plateau is a storehouse of minerals which has played a crucial role in the industrialization of the country. The alluvium soil, of course, it is rich with minerals. The coastal region and island groups provide sites for fishing and port activities. Thus, the diverse is different from a physical features of the land, have immense future possibilities of development. So, whatever hill ranges, mountains are there, plateaus are there, they not only give us, water, or agriculture, they provide us with the scenic sites also. Tourists go and visit. Clear. Um, there are many activities that can take place. People even climb the mountains. Yes, so different types of activities do take place. So this comes to the future possibilities of development as well. So I hope this complete chapter is got to the fulfillment of the structure that it had in it, and it is now clearly emerged into your mind through this lecture. So let us go to the next slide. So thank you, children, for joining me in this session. I hope you all had a very clear picture of the chapter which we had studied. Revise well, understand the concepts with keeping the maps in front of you as I explain to you in each and every slide. Until we meet next time, stay safe, keep fit. Thank you.